Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk about my situation of leaving my toxic family several years ago, and I want to provide any kind of information, any kind of anything that might help you make a decision if you feel like you are in a toxic situation and you need to put up some kind of boundaries or leave, and you're kind of on the fence about it. So you might be wondering if it's the right decision, if leaving or surrendering is the right thing to do. Also, if you're wondering if you're feeling like maybe if you leave, you might be considered a bad person or an uncaring or unloving person. And also, if you're wondering what the heck will happen if I actually make this leap. So I'm just gonna briefly tell my story just to get an idea of where I was and what I was struggling with, why I left, and what happened after I left. First, before I go into my story, I just want to say that I love my parents and we have since rekindled our relationship. We've started to create a new healthy dynamic, and though it's still a work in progress, I understand why they behaved the way they did. I understand now that they grew up in toxic situations, and that is why they exhibited behaviors of basically emotional neglect, you could say. They themselves were emotionally neglected as well, so it's not surprising that they passed the toxicity down, and I am breaking the cycle because no more. I'm healing all that shit. Okay, so just to summarize my story, I was in a household which was emotionally toxic. One of my parents was narcissistic, or had lots of narcissistic traits and codependent traits, and the other one was more or less avoidant and didn't participate too much. It was more just reinforcement. Not only was I not heard or listened to, but I was also berated and humiliated and ridiculed and, called weird and called ridiculous and called, all these things. And so it was just like all of those things together, not being seen as a human. Like I literally felt like I was being treated less than a human. Like the respect of listening to another human, especially your own child, wouldn't you think that you would want to hear your child's emotions and feelings and ask and wonder why they're feeling this way? None of that was, spoke about. And so that is the gist of what was going on. On top of that, it was a manipulation, walking on eggshells, gaslighting, guilt tripping, tons of guilt tripping, blaming other family members, constant criticism, constant judgment. It was not a good environment to be, and I did anything I could to stay out of the house. I mean, in high school, I joined every single club under the sun, practically. I did sports, I did all these different things. I got a job. I was spending as little time at home as I could. And then I went away to college, and things just got progressively worse, even though I was away. And then when I got back from college after I graduated, things just were coming to a head, and I just knew that I had to do something. In high school, I would say things became glaringly obvious that things were extremely dysfunctional and I didn't want to be at home. And then during college, I really wanted to figure out what the hell was wrong with my family. And after college, I basically spent a lot of time and energy trying to like somehow get the family to, like, I was like suggesting family therapy, and it was just like laughed at. All my ideas, all my thoughts were laughed at or not taken seriously or turned back around on me. Those of you in toxic situations, especially with narcissistic people, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know, I would stutter over my words. I would have something to, like, I would write things down, like have this clear idea of like, this is what I'm gonna say, I'm gonna share and then it was just like circled back to me, twisted around, blame, like, and then it was like talking to a brick wall, or it was talking to just somebody who made you feel confused. Like, it was constant. I mean, that's the gaslighting, you know, and it was terrible. It was awful. It was such a horrible feeling. You just felt like you were nobody. Like you were, like, had no value. And lo and behold, that's why I became codependent, because I literally lost my sense of self-worth, or maybe I never even had a great one to begin with because of all of that. But I literally was afraid to speak out in class. Yeah, so I became codependent. Like I basically lost my voice. You know, I didn't want to put myself out there. I was constantly people pleasing, and I was basically, you know, sweeping all of my needs under the rug. When I was with people, I basically like allowed people to walk all over me. Not everybody, but like I definitely put up with a lot of things that I didn't really want, only because I thought that in order to, you know, be loved and accepted, I had to, you know, act a certain way and not be selfish, because literally it was drilled into me my whole childhood that I was selfish and all this stuff. So my grandma was really the only one who unconditionally believed in me, so I spent time with her, and then I was even made to feel guilty for spending so much time with her and all of that. So it was extremely toxic, just constantly being blamed for problems that were completely outrageous, made to meet extremely high expectations and all of that. And through college, I was just like fucked up. Like I just drank so much. I did all kinds of drugs. Like I just numbed myself out. I didn't do poorly in college, but I definitely partied a lot, and it was because of all that. Like it was just so stressful. And even I got like tons of acne, and that was, you know, caused by all of that stuff that I was dealing with my family. And basically that's what led up to, like, I already knew it was dysfunctional. I wasn't being heard. I wasn't being treated like a person. And no matter what I said, nothing changed. It just got to this point where I was like, I need to get out of here. So that happened. I ended up leaving sooner than I thought, because my parents actually kicked me out with a letter telling me that I had 2 weeks to move out, and here's a list of all the things that basically we don't like about you, like 25 things. And I was just like, this is a lot. Like, I'm like, if I wasn't gonna leave, you know, before this, or if I was biding my time or whatever, thinking, okay, I'm not gonna go to my grandma's because I don't want to make the situation worse and all of that. That letter just was the last straw. I was just like, 1, I'm not wanted here. 2, I'm done tolerating this. Who deserves their parents telling them all these horrible things about yourself? Nobody. Absolutely nobody. If anything, your parents are supposed to be the ones that believe in you the most. And so basically that was the last straw. I was like, I packed up my stuff and I was like, I am so done. I'm out of here. And fortunately I had the option of going to my grandmother's house. So that's what I did. I packed up my stuff. So that was the pivotal shift. That was like, you know, the moment. leaving, that's the big event, right? I didn't know what was going to happen. Like, I had so many feelings of guilt. I ended up moving from my grandmother's house a couple months after that, completely different state. But I still had it for like months, I want to say like 3-4 months. I would burst out crying out of guilt, out of shame, out of, oh my God, was I a bad child? Was I, like, did I do the right thing? And then random people would say things like, oh, but they're your family, blah, blah. And I'm just like, dude, if you just went through what I just went through, dude, who cares if they're your family or not? Like, nobody should be treating you like this. So, not gonna lie, you're gonna make this decision and it's gonna bring up tons of stuff. Like, it's gonna be freaky. You're gonna have a lot of fear, guilt, all these different emotions that you're gonna have to process through. And plus, you're gonna be healing your childhood. You're gonna be healing, you're gonna be finally starting the healing process. The best quote for this is, I don't remember who said it, but it's a pretty popular quote, and it's, you cannot heal in the environment that made you sick. You absolutely cannot. Like, that is truth. So as soon as I left, I finally started healing. Like, I finally started putting myself together, figuring out my self-worth, figuring out, what I want out of life and going after it, because now I wasn't spending so much energy and effort trying to fix things or trying to make things work, or, feeling guilty or writing letters to my parents, or, suggesting things or researching or whatever. I was finally focused on my life, which is what I should have been doing the whole time, because, that situation couldn't be helped. So I just want to point out, when I left, I never said, oh, I'm never going to see them again. Like, I never said, oh, fuck you guys, Okay, maybe I did say fuck you guys, but it wasn't like, oh, I don't want anything to do with them ever again. No, I was like, maybe one day if they, start questioning themselves and we can have a reasonable conversation, then fuck yeah, like, hell yeah, I would want, a relationship. But right now, absolutely not. Like, that just wasn't possible. I tried. I put everything into that. And especially as a sensitive being, a sensitive empath who just absorbed all of that energy, I couldn't do it. Like, it was my last straw. It was like, 127 hours when the guy cuts his arm off. Well, it was kind of like that. You don't know what you're capable of unless your back is up against the wall and you have absolutely no choice. And at that point, my only choice was to just leave or ruin my mental health even more. After I left, about 3 months in, I got a text message that said something like, you need psychotic help, you need to go to a therapist, blah, 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 you narcissistic personality disorder, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, really? Like, this is what they say to their kid, 3 months after they leave, like, accusing them of the same stuff and telling them they need to go get help? Like, is that gonna do anything? I literally didn't respond, because I was just like, really? Like, you're still, like, you're not, okay, so about 2 years after that, this guy that I met, he's older, and he was kind of looking at things from a parent's perspective, and because he's a parent, and he was like, you know what, maybe you should reach out to your mom, maybe it's time, just to see how things are going. And I was kind of like, I don't know if I'm ready for that, but then a few months passed and I was just like, you know what, like, sure, I'll call her on her birthday. So yeah, it was just the same thing over and over. And it was just continuing to blame, continuing to just criticize and judge and be like, you don't see, you don't see the whole situation, you don't see blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, I am not arguing with you over the phone while I'm at work, especially. And I was like, ciao. So I was like, okay, nothing changed. Of course, that devastated me, because I was, thinking, okay, after 2 years of not talking to your kid, you'd think that maybe something would change. After that, I just let it go, and, I was continuing to do more healing on myself. And I've been doing, healing on myself since I left. And eventually I actually started to view my whole family in a positive light. like, my parents, I was just like, they grew up, this is the way they grew up, and look, I have some of the same mannerisms, like, oh, like, that's endearing, little things. And I was just like, wouldn't it be awesome if we had a good relationship? Like, wouldn't it be awesome if we, actually got along and, did this together or did that together or whatever? So I basically manifested my mom reaching out to me, kind of unconsciously. Like, I didn't consciously manifest it, but I thought maybe in a few months I'm gonna end up reaching out. Well, it happened way sooner than that, and we started rekindling. And of course, like, it brought up all the shit, and I found out she had, like, finally a slightly different perspective. She was finally, like, doing, on her self-love journey and starting to look at her emotional stuff and everything. So I was just, like, totally blown away. I'm like, she's using, like, words like, compassion, or she's using positive words like, wow, it's great that you did this, and it's great that you, I'm like, I have not heard a compliment from you in what seemed like forever. And I was just like, holy moly, she has done some work, it sounds like. So then, of course, like, it brought up all the stuff, and things have been still, tumultuous, but so much of a more conscious discussions with both of my parents, and not necessarily, like, though my mom and I still have extremely heated conversations at times, things are definitely getting better. And I still have major boundaries with her now. Like, if you disrespect me, I will leave the conversation. I will walk away. I've already warned you. I've already told you, like, I don't deserve that kind of treatment. And so if you're not going to rise up to meet my boundaries, then I'm sorry, but we can't talk. We can't, I'm not going to have a conversation with you. Like, I'm not going to call you. So from everything I just said, I do want to emphasize the fact that when you follow your truth, whatever that may be, you are not only doing yourself a favor, you're doing everyone a favor. You are, whether they realize it or not, the fact that you're following your truth sends a message to others around you, whether subconsciously, directly, indirectly, consciously, that it's okay to follow your truth, and they should follow their truth. And it may not happen, you may not see evidence of that, but, like, on an energetic level, there's some thoughts in the mind, going, am I happy? Like, is there something I could do differently? What happened really? Why did my daughter leave? And all this stuff. So, and mind you, I'm not an only child. My brothers, they were also affected in their own ways. I'm only speaking for myself, but we all had to draw extremely strict boundaries. So yeah, what I just want to leave you with is that when you make this decision for yourself, you are doing everyone a favor. Most importantly, you now get to heal. You now get to start your healing process. And that will pave the way for a potential new dynamic in the future with the same people. Or you don't have to speak with them, but you don't have to lose hope, like, you don't have to think, oh, well, now I'm not going to have parents. Okay, what kind of parents are those, like, anyway? Is that something you want in your life right now? Just go step away, do your thing, put yourself together, and you're going to come back with a much better perspective. You're going to come back with more compassion, because now the anger will have dissipated, a lot of it anyway, and you're going to have more understanding. You're going to realize, oh, they're the way they are because of their parents, and it was just subconscious conditioning, and they were just behaving out of their programming rather than consciously, and really what they wanted deep down underneath was love too. That's the desire. That's our innermost being. We all just want to be loved, and they were just going about it in a controlling manner, controlling and manipulative, and that's not the way you get love. You don't need to do anything for love. We all are worthy of love just for being ourselves. And once we realize that, once we decide to make that move, take that leap of faith into the unknown, then that's when our life starts to really change. Like that quote that is often attributed to Einstein, insanity is doing the same thing but expecting different results. So, hey, nothing you've tried has worked. Just surrender. Just let it go. Just don't stop trying. Stop trying to force a certain outcome. Stop trying to force a certain outcome. The outcome that I was forcing was my family needs to get along. We need to be a happy family. Once I started realizing that was fruitless, that was pointless, that's when that decision to leave really solidified. The biggest lesson I learned from all that is you cannot change another human being. You cannot. You absolutely cannot. So if they're not treating you with respect, you owe it to yourself to walk away, to leave, to put up boundaries. You owe it to yourself to follow your truth. You're on this planet for a very short amount of time in the big perspective. And don't waste it trying to get somebody's love and approval and affection. Go get it yourself, from you. You work on it for yourself. Go get it from you. And that can only start when you make that jump into the unknown. And that was at that time, that was the best thing I ever did for myself. Not a day goes by that I wish I didn't do that. Absolutely not. That was the day that I really took my power back. I owned my self-worth, and I changed my life. And I changed the lives of my family as well. So, thank you so much for watching, and I hope this helps you with your situation. And if you have any questions, please write them in the comments below. And if you want to see any other videos about this, please also write that in the comments below.